You know, once upon a time, the Englishman said that it's better late than never. Once upon a time, the Englishman said it's better late than never. And definitely, it's actually some few minutes to 4 p.m. But as I said, it's better late than never. Kama tumeingia, basi tumeingia. Right here on A Farmers Media. This is the Farm Drive Show with me, Conrad Kibe, where we tell you the story of an African farmer in a way that we can only define and you can only understand. And so today, being the 27th day of April, I hope you're having a lovely afternoon right here in Kitengela or Kajiado County. It's a bit chilly, but at the same time, it's raining, just confused weather, but all the same we just need to do this show. And so today we discuss about one agricultural sector with a lot of market right here in the country, that's local, and definitely outside the country as an export. And this is because of its importance in cookery and health. When it comes to health and cookery, has a lot of importance. And that's not the only juice. It's that from when this farming or agricultural sector to become very very profitable, every Kenyan or most Kenyans are buying this product on a daily basis. Details of that and much more will be coming your way, and make sure you stay tuned for the pan of the day towards pale katika kipindi cha lala salama. And definitely, if you're traveling on the roads, you're on the roads, you need to understand what is happening on the roads, especially during this time when you're having a lot of construction from Mombasa Road all the way to Yaki Way, side the Westlands. You need to understand what's happening on the road. Be giving you the traffic updates towards the tail end of this show. Definitely for everyone who needs to understand what is happening in this weather. As I said, hapa Kajiado, it's raining kidogo, bado kuna waka jua. You need to understand what will be happening when it comes to the weather. Tomorrow we'll be giving you the weather updates shortly. But in the meantime, let's start the conversation of the day. And we're talking about the near farming, especially in the country. This is a product that uh, is growing very, very fast. At the same time, it's one of the most profitable agricultural endeavors in the recent times. In the recent times, almost everyone, 4 out of 5 Kenyans, you'll find themselves, you'll find them buying dania on a daily basis. 4 out of 5 Kenyans, and many Kenyans actually consider coriander or dania locally known as dania. They consider it as a spice crop. So for them it's a spice. Juu wanaekanga pahali chakula inaenda kuiva, wanaeka kama spice. I don't really understand people actually who put dania wakikaanga chakula. Just when they start with the kitunguu, mafuta kidogo and nyanya. I really don't understand those kind of people. But mimi vile ambavyo nimefunzwa, dania inaekangwa ambao chakula iko karibu kuiva, you just place them on top alafu nangoja iweze. But anyway, cooking is an art. There is no manual for cooking. Cooking ni kupika. Wewe vile ambavyo ulifunzwa na mama yako ama pengine ambako ulikuwa, that's how you're supposed to cook it. So cooking is an art. There is no actual manual for cooking. And so at the same time, it provides importance in terms of cookery, and at the same time in terms of health, talking about being a source rich of vitamin C, being an essential oil, and you're seeing Kenyans buying it every single day. And that is the reason as to why more and more farmers are getting into this type of farming. And at the end of it all, they want one reason only, or they want one effect only: to make profits. That's the reason why, because there's market already, demand is there, always will be there. 4 to 5 Kenyans, that's a very very high market rate. But at the same time, you need to follow very very key instructions or very key things, so that for you to come to that point where you're making profits at the end of this farming. And so coriander or dania is a very very easy crop to grow, especially in Kenya. Talking about, if my director can just bring the photo on the screen, we're talking about it being a thin stemmed plant that consists of small and bushy herbs measuring around 20 to 50 centimeters in terms of height. But despite being an easy crop to grow, many farmers that try this venture end up uh, facing losses, a lot of losses. The majority do not have proper guidance about the climatic conditions in which the plant can grow successfully, among other factors. Before you embark on dania farming in Kenya, you need to understand some of these things, or some of the factors that have led to these farmers who got into this venture. What actually led them to face losses? You need to understand some of those factors. And one, you're talking about climatic condition. Two, we are talking about lack of knowledge on how to actually grow this crop. And thirdly, how much profit you can make. Because now you look at a dania from a face value, talking about one just being 5 shillings. So most farmers will ask themselves, kitu ya shilingi tano inanipatia profit inakaaje? And so when you actually know how to do it in the right way, you'll definitely understand where the profits are coming from, on or at the same time you'll actually understand how to make the profits by yourself. And so before we come to how to grow coriander or dania, let's first look at the first things first when it comes to farming. This cuts across any type of farming, cuts across any type of agribusiness, and you're talking about the two values that we keep on insisting on this show, talking about patience and intentionality. Those are the two values that you're supposed to cultivate before you actually get deep into cultivating coriander um, crop, or any other kind of crop, or any other kind of farming or agribusiness. You need to cultivate the two values. That's patience and intentionality. Are you patient with this crop? Are you patient with the journey that this crop is taking to get to the value, or to get to the face value where it's in the market and it's getting the prices? Are you patient? Are you intentional from the start when you start in this kind of farming? How intentional are you? What are your intentions? Those are some of the things you sit down and think about them before you actually get to how to grow dania. You need to instill in you any type of agribusiness. We'll keep on insisting any type of farming we'll be talking about here in the show. We'll talk about the two values. And now, to be specific on dania, the two values, constant. Now we add the third one, which is how to grow it. You need to actually seek knowledge on how to grow dania. And the fourth one, on how to make, or how much profit to make. Those are the four main things. Before we get to the factors like climatic conditions, those four things: having the patience, the intentionality, how to grow the crop or dania, and how much profit you will make from dania. Very important values to have in life, or when you're actually getting to venture into dania or coriander farming in the country or any other part of this world. And so, how to grow coriander? Very, very easy and simple steps. Talking about sowing, which is the first step to start with. And the best way of growing dania is by using fresh seeds that are less than 2 years old. That's the best way to actually grow dania. But at the same time, just it being the best, transplanting is possible. It's not something that it's a must for you to use the fresh seeds, sorry, that are less than 2 years old. You can do transplanting. It's okay. It's allowed. All right. And so at the same time, when you're doing the transplanting, you must have in mind, or you must keep in mind, that it doesn't offer the best results during cultivation. All right. When you actually indulge, or you decide to get into transplanting, just have in mind you'll not have the best results when it comes to cultivation. But the best way of growing dania, the best way to actually grow dania is by using fresh seeds that are less than 2 years. That is very important, and it's good to note. It's good for you to actually understand that. All right. But at the same time, if you feel that you're so pressed that you can't just use, or you're not you cannot access the fresh seeds, probably you're not around any agronomist, you're not around anywhere you can buy seeds that are very fresh, one very fresh and less than 2 years old. Then at the same time, you can do the transplant, but don't expect the same results as compared to you using the fresh seeds. All right. And so depending on the variety that you have or that you've decided to grow, because it's all up to you, it's up to you, it's a personal decision that you'll make in terms of um, what kind of variety you'll decide to grow. You'll notice that coriander has two seeds. That is very important. So if you come across a coriander that has just one seed, just know that one is not authentic. So you'll find that coriander has two seeds, and the best way is consider splitting the seeds. All right, you have two seeds. Just make sure you split the seeds. This is for one reason, and this is just before planting. This increases the rate of germination when you consider to split the seeds. Not just plant the two of them, just split the seed, the two of them that you have, just split them probably into four. And now you can decide to after you've split the seeds, now just before you plant them, this will help in the rate of germination. The rate of germination for your seeds will actually grow, and the quantity that you'll have at the end when it comes to the produce and harvesting will be very high. And this will increase the rate of germination for your coriander um, for your coriander seeds. Right, the rate of germination will be very high. And so you can sow. This is very important to notice. You can sow and plant the seeds at the same time. You don't have to do it alternatively. You can decide you'll do the sowing and planting at the same time. And all you have to do when you're observing the sowing and planting at the same time is make sure you sprinkle them into rows, sorry, and wait for them to germinate. Simple. Let nature take its course. So make sure if you've decided to sow and plant at the same time, same day, make sure you've sprinkled them in rows, and make sure you just water them and wait for germination. That's okay. That is when we're talking about sowing. So in sowing, one, you can use fresh seeds that are less than 2 years. Two, you can decide to transplant, but at the same time, have in mind that the results of transplanting will not be the same as for that person who has used fresh seeds that are less than 2 years. So that's very, very important to note. And depending on the variety that you've chosen, whether short or long, when it comes to coriander farming, just know that coriander has two seeds, so you can split them and sprinkle them in rows, and make sure you just when you're sprinkling in rows, you just leave them, and the rate of germination will be very high, and this will enable germination for the coriander seeds to actually improve the rate at which the germination will take place. And so the second thing is soil type, and the soil type that the the coriander seeds have, or the soil type where you place in or germinating, or where you leave the seeds to actually germinate, and at the same time preparation of the soil. It's very important to understand the pH of the soil. It's very important to understand the soil type of where you're growing these coriander seeds. And so most Kenyan farmers will actually go for long or short varieties. We talked about the varieties of coriander seeds or coriander farming, talking about the long or short. So in when you're talking about, there's no much difference between them. The difference is almost close to the same, all right? But in general, it grows in well drained soil. We're talking about clay soil, loam soil, sandy soil, either. It's okay. But that's not the main purpose or the main key thing to notice, or the main key that drives the type soil, the soil type, sorry, and the preparation of the soil. It's all about the soil draining or just having the it's all about the soil being able to drain. Is the drainage enough? It's not about what kind of soil we are growing the seeds into. It's about the drainage being enough. Is it enough? Either you're doing it in clay soil, loam soil, sandy soil. Is the drainage enough? That is the most important question to ask yourself when it comes to the soil type and preparation. All right. And so, uh, if you don't follow, if you actually go with more of the soil type, either being it being clay soil, sandy soil, or loam soil, you will lose on something, and that is better yields or getting the best yields. If you just follow on the soil type and forget the drainage being enough, you lose out on the best yields. And so the best yields will actually come when you've mainly focused on the drainage being enough, as opposed to the soil type, it being clay, loam, or sand. All right. And so the soil type, the pH. Now let's come to the pH. It's very important to note the pH should be between 6.1 and 8.0. All right. And probably you out there, you've had an experience of you've had an experience whereby you've not tested your soil, you didn't understand the soil pH, and so you just planted from any kind of soil. That becomes hard for you. And so this is for you. Probably you've had that experience, or probably you're a new farmer, you want to venture into coriander farming. This is for you. You're talking about pH range that ranges between 6.1 and 8.0. For 6.1 to 8.0, this is what is allowed by any agronomist. They will tell you 6.1 to 8.0, it's okay. But the best range is between 6.5 and 7.5. All right. So the allowed range is 6.1 to 8.0, but the best range is 6.5 to 7.5. So probably if you have an experience where it failed terribly, you can share with us the soil pH that you had used, and you never got the yields that you were expecting, or probably the the crops died, or they didn't get to what you actually expected at the end. You can share your thoughts and your experiences so that other farmers who actually upcoming or probably want to venture into this kind of farming can learn from your experiences, from your failed experiences, so that to avoid a repetition of the same. And so at the same time, after you've done you've understood the pH of the soil that you have, which is the best, talking about 6.5 and 7.5. Now let's go to the soil, um, to, to testing the soil. And when you're testing the soil, two things must come out. The soil must be rich in organic matter. That one is a must. The soil that you're using to grow this crop must be rich in organic matter. And probably you'll ask yourself, what about if I add fertilizer? It's okay. It's allowed. No problem. No one will disagree with you. But you have the soil that you have must be rich in organic matter. That one is a must. Even if you add fertilizer, remember fertilizer won't add the richness in the organic matter. So the soil by itself has to have a richness in organic matter before you even add the fertilizer. And so, after you've done all that, now conduct a soil test to determine its pH before growing dania. This one you can visit an agronomist, pay for the services, but it's very, very important and necessary at the same time. Even if you had grown something else in that soil, it's good before you actually grow another crop or you grow now. In this case, we're talking about coriander farming. It's important for you to do some soil testing before you determine its pH, and at the same time before you actually get or venture into growing dania. Very, very important issues to actually look at before you actually venture into the dania farming or coriander farming. One, we've talked about the sowing, the soil type, and the preparation that you need to do in between. Just before you do the soil testing, you need to understand that it's okay to, to actually grow this type of crop in any type of soil, but make sure the drainage is enough. Talked about the pH, the best pH we've talked about being 6.5 to 7.5, but at the same time 6.1 to 8.0 is allowed. You have also talked about conducting a soil test, and the soil must be rich in organic matter despite you adding fertilizer. And so, the next one, now you've done the preparation, you've known the soil test, you've known the soil type that you're using, you've done all the preparation that are necessary, you've sowed the seed, you've planted the seed, you're waiting for germination. But before you wait for germination and all that, it's good to actually observe the planting and spacing. And so, when it comes to planting and spacing, you cannot plant coriander seeds in a prepared bed. That one is a no. The planting of the seeds should be between 0.6 centimeters and 1.2 centimeters deep. Deep, right? 0.6 to 1.2 centimeters deep. And when it comes to spacing, place them at least 5 centimeters apart. Remember, now we've talked about the coriander seeds. You can't prepare them in a prepared bed. And so when you lay them on the ground, make sure they are 0.6 to 1.2 centimeters deep into the soil. But at the same time, from one seed to another seed, make sure you leave at least 5 centimeters gap between 30 and 40 centimeters between the rows apart. You're talking about this being the place where you place in or you actually planting the seeds. And so when it comes to the depth, make sure it's 0.6 to 1.2 centimeters deep. And so from one seed to another seed, talking about 5 centimeters. And now the whole of it, talking about 30 to 40 centimeters in terms of the rows. All right. And one of the best coriander farming tips for ensuring a continuous harvest is to stagger the plantings, or in other words, you're just saying sow a few seeds every week. All right. Throughout the growth, sow a seed every week, just some few seeds. This will help in actually ensuring that you have a continuous harvest. This time you decide after 2 weeks you're going to sow some other seeds. After a few weeks, going to do the same. Going to do the same. This also ensures to keep the seeds moist before placing them in the soil. You know, when you're sowing, you keep on sprinkling some water. Either the type you're using, it's okay. All right. So even as you planting and spacing, remember you've already maintain the spacing and that is required, talking about zero point 0.6 to 1.2 when it comes to the depth, and also 5 centimeters when it comes to the gap or being apart from one seed to another, and the whole row or the whole bed being 30 to 40 centimeters. At the same time, for you to have a continuous harvest, it's good to do what we call stagger planting, where you sow the seeds after. Just make sure it's a continuous process. You don't waiting for a whole harvest, then now you're not waiting whatever you have you sowed as together, you're waiting for it to harvest, then you sow again. You can just sow the seeds as you continue. Just do it frequently, after every week or after every 2 weeks, after a fortnight. Just make sure you're doing it frequently. And so as you are on it, make sure you keep the seeds wet or moist before placing them in the soil. All right. So these are some of the things that you actually need to um, make sure you observe when it comes to the planting and definitely the spacing. And now, where the factor where so many farmers actually go wrong when it comes to how to plant or how to grow coriander dania in the country is climatic condition. This is where they go wrong, or where probably you who is watching had an experience with climatic condition. Probably you didn't know what type of weather is best for dania. Now this is where you went wrong as a coriander farm. The perfect weather for growing dania is between 10 and 25 degrees Celsius. Now just check at location, or where you come from, or where you've decided to actually get to venture into a coriander farming. Is that temperature suitable for you? Talking about 10 to 25 degrees Celsius. Also, the sowing temperature should be between 22 and 28 degrees Celsius. This is the sowing. When it comes to the sowing process, 22 and 20 or 28 degrees Celsius is the best. But when growing dania, 10 to 25 degrees is the best. So for you who is in a location where the degrees or the temperature is between ranging between 10 and 28, you are safe, because now that temperature will cater for the sowing part and also for the growth part of the dania. So 10 to 28 is the best. In short, that's the best. You can use a thermometer to measure the climate change. Probably you're not you don't have somewhere where you can get the actual temperature of the location you are in at. You can use the thermometer, and this will help you to determine the best time to plant the crop. If you don't use the Google weather from the Google app, probably now, if you want the best or the perfect temperature and the perfect time to actually grow your crop, you can just use a thermometer. And so when we come back, we'll be talking about the weeds control, the irrigation, the watering, and all those steps that you need to follow when it comes to how you actually need to grow coriander. But remember, if you want the seedlings or coriander seedlings, that is dania seedlings, you know what to do. Just call the number that is running on the screen. Will be of help. Will help you with the seedlings, will help you with the soil testing. If you want to start from scratch, you can contact a farmers. Will be willing and will be willing to help you in whatever way you want. Remember, our prices are affordable and our services of high quality. So just talk to us on the number running on the screen, or probably you can drop a comment on our Facebook page, that is A Farmers with a Z at the end. And definitely, if you're watching on YouTube at A Farmers Media Kenya, you can drop your comment. We'll be there to help you in the best way possible. But in the meantime, let's take a short break. We'll be right back with much more.
My, my name is Stephen Kasie, an agronomist. You are watching us from a farmer's media. Identification of crop pest diseases and nutrition deficiencies in crops for your successful farming. So if you want, I want to give you more information about the crop pest diseases. You can follow me in the farm to get more information from me. Hello farmers, today is another fine morning. We want to take you through about traditional African vegetables which are indigenous, and as you can see, indigenous vegetables do want more management, or these things like spray fertilizers, like exotic breeds, which requires more management and skills. If you go to the village, you can get people improving their living standards using these indigenous vegetables. You can get a woman in the market selling these vegetables because the management is not that hard or is not that expensive. So they improve their living standards and earn income and their daily bread via this one, and they get better salaries and whatever they want from the farm. You can get that they are having a small piece of farm like this, and they utilize all the space, putting different varieties and different types of indigenous vegetables which help them. Even these vegetables have a medicinal impact to our lives. As you can see now, I'm at pigweed. We can start with the pigweed. Pigweed is an indigenous vegetable which most farmers or which most people use it because the management is just cheap. It doesn't require more management skills and that technical skills to manage it, but it do well, and the soil variety varies from A to Z, but this crop do well in different and various soil types. Here, as you can see, you have cotton soil, which the variety that we have is soft, and a soft pigweed, which do well, and we read something here, and we are happy to take you through this and help you on how you can earn. Many people think that these things are weeds, and I want to assure you that many people who uses these traditional vegetables, they are more healthy than those who uses meat, uh, the exotic vegetables that use chemicals. These indigenous crops are good for our healthy. So I will urge all of you to enroll into this business, to utilize their farms that are useless, to ensure that they are getting something from their farms. So as you can see here, harvesting, we have seeds. this pigweed has seeds, and you you can harvest till you see the seeds come out, and you can pick the seeds dry and ensure that they are not dispersing. You put in an enclosed container to ensure that they are not dispersing from the point you are just gathering them, uh, to ensure that you are just getting a good population in your farm. Sowing the seeds, you can just broadcast your seeds. After making a bed, you can broadcast your seeds into the soil and ensure that there is irrigation water to ensure that there is germination. But it doesn't require more moisture or more water, and it doesn't require waterlogging areas. It doesn't require much water to use it because it is tolerant to drought and on the sun. So I will urge you to do this pigweed farming. It doesn't require a big farm. Many people who produces this pigweed, they do on a small scale farm, but they earn more because it is a long-term crop, which it takes long before its life goes off.
20 minutes past 4 p.m. right here on A Farmers Media. This is the Farm Drive Show with me, Conrad Kibe, where we tell the story of an African farmer just the way we understand it, and for you to make sure you attain the knowledge, and at the end of it all, you get your profits. As we continue with the show, we are talking about the five, or the few steps to follow when it comes to how to grow coriander. And we talked about sowing, soil type preparation, and planting and spacing. And before we went for a short break, we talked about climatic condition. And just being on the climatic condition, I know some of you are out here. Remember, it's the long rains. We have in the long rains, we're experiencing that kind of weather. So we need to actually prepare ourselves adequately for the long rains. Especially you as a farmer, you need to know what you gotta do with this type of rain, or what you need to do with the rain, because it's nature, cannot be controlled. So it's either it wins us, or we get to have an advantage from it. And so the weather will be looking as follows. Tomorrow, and starting with the CBD, that is Nairobi, it will be a bit cloudy and sunny at the same time, and the temperatures will be 21 degrees Celsius. For Mombasa, all the way in the coast, it will be sunny tomorrow, with the temperatures being at as low as 27 degrees. And for Nakuru, you'll be experiencing heavy rains tomorrow, with temperatures being low as 16 degrees. Eldoret, same, will be experiencing a lot of rains tomorrow, and temperatures will be as low as 18 degrees. Also, Kisumu, you'll experience the rains tomorrow, and temperatures being low as 21 degrees. For people in Kakamega, also you'll be experiencing the rains tomorrow, with temperatures being low as 19 degrees. Watu from Central, especially Nyeri, tomorrow will be a bit sunny, with temperatures being low as 19 degrees. For the people just about near Mount Kenya, that is Meru, it will be a bit rainy tomorrow, actually heavy rains tomorrow, with temperatures of 19 degrees. Talking going all the way to Wajir, actually, surprisingly, tomorrow will be heavy rains. You'll be experiencing heavy rains in Algiers, with the temperatures being as high as 31 degrees. And also, we go to Naivasha. Also tomorrow you'll be experiencing the rains with temperatures being low as 16 degrees. And let's just do two more at the river. Also will be a bit cloudy with a bit of sun, with the temperatures being as low as 21 degrees. And lastly, Kajiado will be a bit cloudy and a bit sunny tomorrow, with temperatures being low as 21 degrees. So just prepare yourself adequately. Just know how to do it. Just understand what to do with the rains. And if you're traveling, you know what to do. If you need to wear that coat, if you need just to wear some light clothing, you know what to do now. Just prepare yourself adequately and act accordingly. And so, as we continue with the show, we talked about climatic conditions that are necessary for coriander farming to actually just prevail and grow well. Talked about temperatures being 10 to 25 degrees, and for sowing seeds, we've talked about 22 to 28 degrees. And so the best temperature is 10 to 28 degrees. And it's very important because that's where most farmers have gone wrong when it comes to climatic condition, followed by not knowing the pH of the soil, and also not having tested your soil. So we have filled those three gaps: the climatic condition, not knowing what kind of climatic condition I am supposed to grow coriander as a farmer. Definitely also not knowing the soil pH, and at the same time not having tested the soil. And so we have covered that. We are already done with the climatic condition. We have done the sowing and the planting. We have done the land preparation. We have known our soil type. We have done the spacing and the planting. And so we need to evaluate and monitor our farm. And this goes all the way straight to the weed control. And at times the weeds are very inevitable. But if we don't control them, then they become a menace, becomes a problem for you as a farmer. And so controlling weeds is a very, very crucial step in ensuring better growth of coriander or dania, as it's known locally, dania. And weeds pose a very significant problem at the initial growth, at the initial stage of growth of the plant. So if you're not careful when it comes to weeding, or just removing of the weeds during the initial stage of the growth of this plant, then you'll have a very, very difficult time. That's when it poses the biggest threat or challenge. And so when you get it started, you as a new farmer, or who has decided to actually venture into coriander farming, you should perform at least three operations to keep them away from your land, the weeds you're talking about. Make sure you actually perform three, at least, that's the list, three weed operations to keep the weeds away from your land. And so after you do the sowing of the seeds, remove the weeds after the fourth week. That's the best. Any agronomist will tell you, after you've done the sowing of the seeds, you've made sure you've just let the seeds germinate by themselves, you can now remove the weeds after the fourth week. Remember, you talked about the initial stage posing a big or a key threat, weeds actually posing a key threat when it comes to the initial stage. And so after you've done the sowing and the planting, and you've let the seeds germinate by themselves, you can remove, or just go remove the weeds after the fourth week. It's very important. But remember, before then, you've actually uh, done three weed operations before you actually get to the fourth week. And so the rest of the weeding you can do after the fifth, the seventh week. Remember, you're talking about you being invested. It's being intentional. So you have to be there. It's all about observing. You observe the several weeds around, go uproot the weeds. It's not really written that it's up to the fourth week. Probably can come uh, during mid the third week, mid third week. So you just observe when you have the weeds, especially after the fourth week. Might you'll need to actually uproot the weeds probably after the fourth week, immediately during the fifth week, the sixth, seventh. So it's up to you as a farmer to observe, see the weeds, remove them, or rather uproot the weeds, because they pose a very big, very great challenge, and it's a very crucial step when it comes to the growth of the coriander. Right? So the first thing after the climatic condition, make sure after you've actually observed the climatic condition of the coriander seeds and during the coriander farming, make sure you've done the weed control. You've controlled the weeds to the best that you can. Even during the process of controlling the weeds, remember you keep on observing, and observation is very key when it comes to the growth of coriander, right? So at the same time, we talked about the initial stage. You need to make sure that your seeds are moist. They are always wet. The moisture is always there. And so remember, now you've let the seeds germinate, and so you let in the process to take course. Now the second thing you need to do is water, or make sure you irrigate. It's watering and irrigation. And so when it comes to watering and irrigation, the requirements of the plant depends on the amount of moisture present in the soil, and not just the moisture present in the soil. It's also the locality, the location. For example, in Kenya, if you're located in Nakuru, another farmer is located in Nyeri, the farmer from Nakuru will probably water or irrigate his farm or her farm frequently than the person in Nyeri, because this place of Nyeri experiences more rainfall than the person from Nakuru. And so it depends with the presence of the moisture in the soil and the location. So if you come from a location whereby you don't experience the amount of rainfall frequently, then you need to do your due diligence. Do the watering and irrigation by yourself. You can do the drip if you have in a big or a large size of land. You can decide to do by yourself the irrigation. So it depends with the moisture present in the soil and the location that you come from. And at the same time, you should continue watering until germination. This one you've talked about, making sure that every time the seeds are moist, and although the frequency depends on the moist content in the soil and also the locality. For subsequent irrigation, now let's come into the subsequent irrigation. You can settle for intervals of 10 to 12 days. For that person probably in Nakuru, you can decide to do your irrigation or watering in between intervals of 10 to 12 days. After every 12 days or probably a fortnight, you can decide to do your irrigation. That is for people who actually don't receive that large amount of rainfall. And generally, you must ensure that you or your dania is moist enough for the crop to grow. Also, at the same time, mulching is necessary during the first stage of sowing the seeds. Remember, we talked about the seeds being uh, uh, coriander having two seeds, and so mulching is necessary during the first stage of sowing the seeds. And this, the reason as to why it's necessary for you to do mulching, it's because it prevents the seeds from washing away while watering. When you're doing the watering, especially now, remember you're doing the watering even when you're having the germination process taking place. And so when you actually take into consideration mulching, it will help the seeds from not getting or washed away while watering, especially for those people who come from a dry place. You in the in between the temperatures of 10 to 28 degrees, yes, but you're not receiving as much rainfall as you would expect. And so you'll be doing frequent watering and irrigation by yourself. And so you need to take that into consideration. But once the seed germinates into a plant, now you can see it inachipuka kutoka kwa ground. You see the seed has germinated into a plant. You should remove the mulch to prevent the crop from growing weaker stems. And so in other words, the mulching is important when it comes to sowing of the seeds. During that process of sowing of the seeds, but when you've seen the germination has taken place, you can see the plant. Now remove the mulch. All right? Because if you don't do that, if you don't do so, this will prevent the crop from growing weaker stems. Or if you actually keep on, if you don't remove the mulch, the stems will grow weaker with time. So you need to remove the mulch for the stems to actually become stronger as the growth is continuous, or the growth to be continuous without unnecessary problems like the stems being weak. That is for you as a farmer to make sure. We're talking to that farmer in Nakuru now, and the same farmer in Nyeri. For the farmer in Nyeri, you don't really necessarily need to have the mulch. But for Nakuru, because you're not experiencing as much rainfall as a farmer in Nyeri would experience, would actually experience, you probably need the mulch. But this is during the sowing process, or the sowing seeds process. But after you've seen the germination, or the germination of the plant has taken place, remove the mulch. Otherwise, you settle for a weaker stem, and we don't need that. Remember, we're talking about attaining maximum profits, and maximum profits depends on how you actually control all these things. So at that point, you really don't need the mulch. Just get rid of it and let nature take its course. And so after you've done, you remember you're doing the weeds and pests. So we've talked about the weeds only. Let's now get to pest control. And like any other plant, a pest also affect coriander. That you need to understand. Pests also affect dania. And so as a farmer, you as a farmer at home, you will see tiny bugs around your plant as your crop grows. So it's all about observation. For the pest, mostly for small plants like dania, it's all about you observing. So if you observe small little tiny bugs around your crop, then no, those are pests. Those are not friendly animals to be around your pests, to be around your crops. So the most common pests that attack your coriander or your dania is called the aphids, or the spider mites, the aphids or the spider mites. So if you come across these kind of animals, you need to act right, or you need to take the extra caution. So uh, you can control both of them by spraying some oil, which is very important when it comes to pest control. If you can access it locally from pesticides companies that you have around your place, remember it's all about the availability, the proximity. Do you have an agrovet around your place? You need to make sure you've had that in place when you're doing your business plan, when you're doing your research, all these things. Make sure the proximity of where we have the agronomist, or sorry, the agrovet, so that you are able to access some of these things like pesticides. All right. So the most common pesticides you have talked about is the aphids and the spider mites. So the only way you can deal with them is make sure you have pesticides and you can actually access them easily from your agrovets that are near you. So don't be a place where you, as you're doing your research, make sure you put this into consideration, the proximity you can get, you can actually access the pesticides or any other thing, probably the fertilizers, you can actually access all these things in time to save the pests from making more damage or having more harm or making more harm to the crops that you have. So when you come back after this short break, we're talking about how long does dania take to grow, and if dania is actually profitable in the country, and where you can sell this dania of yours or this crop, where you can get an easily market for you as a farmer, as a first time farmer, and definitely will be coming back with the pan of the day.
Farmers is the home of Africa Farmers Club, and by extension, African farmers. The whole idea behind farmers is to transform the image of an African farmer from a producer into an agripreneur, somebody who actually does not think about how to produce onions, but how much is going to be used to produce onions, and so that way then they can be able to transform their vision, they can be able to look at their farms as businesses, and they can be able to know when to engage with the market. What we have done is that we have developed a hub where farmers bring their information, bring their questions, their challenges, and other farmers are there to come out and help. Facebook has not just been instrumental, Facebook has been a working partner for myself as well. And Facebook has actually transformed the way we relate, an open platform. My background is in tech, and I know you cannot build a platform that can reach out to so many people. Initially, it was just a few farmers in 2 counties, Machakos County and Kajiado counties, but now it has transformed. We have a stronger membership from Nigeria and Zambia than even Kenya itself, And the reason behind this is the messages I get from different farmers across Africa. And then something interesting came to my mind, and I thought about using the camera. Every time I visited farmers, I would be able to post in the community, in the group, in my own profile, and just share the story of the farmer that I visited. And then I asked myself, why wouldn't I get this information, develop it in a way that other people can be able to benefit? If we go for a training, how do we capture that so that those who are not, the farmers who are not able to come for that training can still benefit? And hence the birth of a farmers media. Our mission as an organization is to help farmers, African farmers, to attain knowledge and grow profits.
Agriculture is the art and science of cultivating the soil, growing crops, and raising livestock. Agriculture provides most of the world's food and fabrics. It is not only a source of food and income, but also creates employment opportunities for many people in the world. Over 1 billion people worldwide work in agriculture, generating 2.4 trillion for the global economy. The global impact of farming on the environment is revealed that 40% of the Earth's land is now given over to agriculture. Agricultural development is one of the most powerful tools to end extreme poverty, boost shared prosperity, and feed a projected 9.7 billion people by 2050. And we, the Our Farmers Media, roll the carpet for you as we welcome you to our thrilling farm visits to different farmers that educate and inspire you in different sectors in agriculture. Catch us also on our shows on all our social media platforms as we bring you educative and informative information that will help you learn and guide you on your agriculture journey to success. Our farmers attain knowledge and grow profits.
And thank you so much for taking your time to actually join us right here on A Farmers Media. This is the Farm Drive Show with me, Conrad Kibe, where we tell you the story of an African farmer. And definitely, we are about to wind up the show. But in the meantime, it's good to actually talk about how long does the near take to grow. But before that, remember, if this is your first time to join this show on our Facebook, remember to actually, before you leave, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow our page on Facebook. And definitely, if this is your first time on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and you can leave your comment down below. But in the meantime, just play with this cheza cheza na hii kitu ya red iko hapa, and at the same time utakuwa umesubscribe. So when you just press this red button that is on your right, just subscribe to our channel and we shall actually appreciate that. But if you're on Facebook, make sure you actually follow us, like our page, and you can always leave a comment below the live stream there, and we shall always be grateful for doing that. So thank you so much for actually joining, and we do this because of you. And so straight to the pan of the day, where we have the interesting segments always right here on the Farm Drive every single day. And so the pan of the day today is, we are asking, or rather I am asking, if you mix up hens, will they lay scrambled eggs? And I ask again, if you mix up hens, different types of hen, will they lay scrambled eggs? That's actually a food for thought. Just think about it, and that's the pan of the day today. And I hope you actually enjoyed it, and make sure you stay tuned for the next pan of the day tomorrow, exactly right here on the Farm Drive Show with me, Conrad Kibe. And so, definitely, too, the question that people actually ask, because remember, this is a fast growing kind of agribusiness, or fast growing kind of farming that is taking place in the country, and it's very profitable, as we have seen, has a market, readily market. Remember, we talked about 4 out of 5 Kenyans buying dania every single day, especially during supper. Every food or meal they're having, lazima ikuwe na dania pale. All right, and so we are talking about how long does dania take to grow. Okay, and so germination of the seeds happen after 5 to 7 days. That is the germination. And so for the plant to mature, it will take between 4 and 6 weeks. All right. However, maturity will depend on the variety of the crop you sowed. Remember, we talked about the long and the short kind of dania. So the maturity is all up to the variety that you chose for yourselves. But the germination, you've said, is 5 to 7 days, and the maturity is 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the variety. So we are talking about 1.5 months, and you will have your product ready. But for germination, 5 to 7 days. So for those farmers probably who are doing the research or want to venture into dania farming, you have your answer. How long does it take for dania to actually grow? And the second question, sorry, most Kenyans or most farmers who want to venture into this type of farming asked is dania farming profitable? And when we began the show, we talked about how profitable this kind of farming is. But just to actually answer that question, dania is one of the most profitable crop to grow in Kenya. And but profit when it comes to profits, this will depend on your budget. Right? So for you who is asking if it's profitable, yes, it is, because it's one of the most profitable crop to grow in Kenya. But now the profits depend on the budget that you have. You must first find out your costs by determining the things you will need to grow. uh, this we are talking about the seeds and the harvest, or the harvesting of the plant. So yes, it's profitable because it's one of the most profitable crop we have in the country right now. But now that profitability depends on your budget, what you have invested when it comes to the cost of what you've invested when it comes to the costing of the needs, or the things that you need for these seeds to grow, and in terms of harvesting these plants. It's in your budget. Remember, we talked about the business plan, it is there. So the profits depends on what you actually invest, the input. All right, the input will actually affect the output. So what you actually invest will determine the profits at the end of the day. Okay? And so just to give you a random fact is that the market price for coriander in the country right now vary depending on the region. Probably you're in Malawi, you're in other parts of this country, oh sorry, this region, that is Africa. It varies on your region. So probably you'll come to listen to the prices, or you'll hear the prices in Kenya, and you'll try and compare the prices to the country that you are in right now. And so in Kenya, the price per kg is between 25 shillings and 80 shillings. Okay? It's 25 and 80 shillings. Remember, we're talking about all this depends on the quality that of your product, of your dania. If the quality is bad, then I don't think anyone can actually buy your product for 80 shillings for 1 kg. So it depends with the product that you have, how well did you manage this product or this crop when it was germinating, when it was getting to the maturity stage, when you are harvesting, the transportation. All this depends, will actually now actually make you decide on what the costs that you'll pick up on. Is it 25? Is it 40 shillings? Is it 60? Is it 80 shillings? But the price range is 25 to 80 shillings. And this means just simple mathematics, yeah? That 1 acre of dania, if you decide to actually invest or plant 1 acre and just invest dania, this can give you more than 40,000 shillings. But remember, the profits depend on what you invested or your budget and how well you are able to actually make all this the crop grow well. Did you water or irrigate the crop? Did you make sure that the space was well enough? Did you use soil type that the drainage is enough? All these things, the climatic conditions, were they suitable? Did you control the weeds? Did you control the pests? All these things will determine the output, the harvest, and what you'll take to the market. So it's not a guarantee whether you've planted in uh, 1 acre piece of land that you'll get close to 40,000 Kenya shillings. It's not a must. See must. But how well are you controlling all these things? The factors, the spacing, the watering, the sowing, the conditions, the climatic conditions, the weed control, the pest control. How well are you dealing with all these factors? That's what will influence the profitability of the near farming in your area or in your farm. You as a person, you as an individual. And so, where can you sell dania in the country? That is another question that most farmers are asking. And so you can harvest your coriander. You can actually sell your dania or your coriander in any local market. Any local market, even in a kibanda right now, you can have your dania there. Remember, we talked about the market being on demand. It's everywhere. Talking about the local market, the kibandas that you have outside your houses, the mama mbogas we're talking about, the hotels. You can sell all these. These are markets for you. It all depends on the intentions that you had. Did you do in large scale, small scale? If it's small scale, probably hotels is a long shot for you. You can now target local markets. There we're talking about the mama mbogas and the kibandas. Probably that is your target audience. But if you did large scale, you're talking about hotels, supermarkets, just big entities. But in recent times, some successful dania farmers in Kenya have been selling their harvest online. Online is the way to go. Talking about online being a wave, it's like a train leaving a station. It doesn't come back until the next stop. So probably right now during the pandemic, the only way probably where you'll be able to be safe, because you need to keep your social distance and avoid being in crowds, probably where you come from, people are not going to the market that often. You can decide and sell your harvest or your product or your produce online. Take these all social media apps and decide that is where I'll make my market. So the market is big, the market is large, the cake is big for us, all of us as farmers, to actually eat from it. Everyone must get a piece, and everyone should get a piece. As long as you're into dania farming, you will get that market. Talking about the local market, the local people that you have around, depending on your intentionality. Did you do it in large scale or small scale? You'll never miss a market. The cake, as I said, is so big that everyone can feed from that cake. Right? And so many coriander of dania buyers in Kenya are direct consumers. This you don't need middlemen, you don't need brokers, and you're talking about 4 to 5 men, 4 to 5 farmers buying dania every single day. 4 to 5 Kenyans, buying dania every single day. So here you're dealing with a direct consumer, someone who will go and prepare a meal at the end of the day, supper at the end of the day. So these are direct consumers. And so that's the good thing about this type of farming. The market is readily available, and you're dealing with the direct consumers by themselves. And that means you'll make a bigger profit by selling to the consumers directly. Remember, you don't need a middleman. You don't need you don't need someone to be at the middle of all of it. You don't need a broker. Probably that's why one bunch goes for 5 shillings, because there is no middleman who was involved. It's you and the farmer most of the times. And some Kenyans are very ambitious, and they have gone for the export market through various agricultural organizations in the country, and are available for selling the produce. So it all depends on your target audience. Probably you doing all this type of dania farming or coriander farming, and you've observed all these factors because you're doing or you're selling your produce outside the country. It's for export. It's for export produce only, or for export consumption only. So it depends with you as a farmer. With you as a farmer, that's where the ball lies. All right. And so some importance of a coriander, just to peruse through. One, may help when it comes to low blood sugar. So if you're having high blood sugar, this will help. This will actually help just to get the low blood sugar. And it's rich in immune boosting. It actually helps in boosting your immune. Very, very rich in that. And the third one may benefit anything to do with heart problems or heart health, heart related issues. Coriander is there to help you. Talking about also may protect brain as well. So not just the heart, matters of the heart, also matters to do with the brain, and at the same time matters to do with digestion, brain, heart, boosting your immune, and at the same time bringing more of the low blood sugar in your body. So those are some of the importance of coriander in your body. Coriander as a plant, coriander as a crop, dania. Right? And so we take a short break. We come back with traffic updates, and I hope you've learned so much when it comes to the coriander farming, how to do it. Remember, take care of the climate condition. That's where most farmers fail when it comes to climate condition. Just make sure you're in a location where we're having 10 to 28 degrees Celsius, and just make sure, as much as coriander is very, very profitable in the country, make sure you translate that from the theory part to the practical part. It's not see must you get 40,000 from 1 acre piece of land. You can get more than that or less than that. Just make sure you're able to translate the money from the books or the business plan you have to the pocket, and talking about liquid cash. So when you come back, it's about those on the roads, those traveling, especially during these wet seasons or these long rains. You need to understand and make sure you are safe as you're going home, or probably you're going to work. All that after this short break. Yes, and straight to the traffic updates right here on the Farm Drive with me, Conrad Kibe, where I tell you the story of an African farmer. Just quickly to look at how the road are looking right now. Currently, Mombasa Road, it's looking not so bad until Imara Daima, where traffic is actually starting to build up all the way to Nyayo Stadium. Not looking so good. So remember, if you're using Mombasa Road, the traffic in and out of Mombasa Road, starting from Imara Daima all the way to Nyayo Stadium. That's where actually from the other side of town where this traffic is actually starting to build up. And if you're using Langata Road, traffic as always beginning at around Bagadi Way. And for the southern bypass, it looks like there is no vehicles that are using the southern bypass. It was said to be closed for around 20 days. I don't know if it has been opened because I don't see any traffic. But if you're using Langata Road, just know you're safe until Bagadi Way, just around Timol. But from there, you're good to go. There's no traffic all the way. And Watu Ngong Road, definitely traffic not looking so bad around Kenyatta National Hospital, just around the roundabout around Valley Road, that is Daystar Valley Road, not looking so bad. But on your way to Ngong Road, barabara iko safi, but heading towards Bagathi Road, looking not the roads are not looking so good. Watu wa Thika Road, the traffic is not looking so bad. Things are moving until pale Muthaiga mambo hayaangalii vizuri sana, so make sure you are actually taking care of yourselves, because watu wa Thika Road maneno hayakai vizuri karibu na Pangani and around Muthaiga, and definitely karibu na Globe Cinema pia hapangaliki vizuri. And watu wa Westlands, as always, watu wa Nairobi Expressway, things are not looking well around the museum hill. So make sure you take care of yourself during these times of the pandemic. Make sure you wear your mask properly, sanitize, and make sure you actually maintain the social distance, especially those using the public service vehicles. And ninyi tunaambia mko barabara, make sure you are safe and get home before 8 for those around the 5 red zones, that is Nairobi, Kajiado, Nakuru, Machakos, and Kiambu. Make sure you're home before 8, and for the rest of the country, it's at 10 p.m. Curfew has not changed. Remember, the curfew is going until May, the 29th of May this year. So make sure you actually follow all the protocols being given by the government and definitely the Ministry of Health. And just some breaking news we have received in a few minutes ago, that in Kenya, that we're talking about Kenya, Lady Justice Martha Koome has been chosen as the next Chief Justice by the Judicial Service Commission. And the Lady Justice Martha Koome nominated for the position of Chief Justice of Kenya by the Judicial Service Commission, and the name has been forwarded to the President of the country, that is Uhuru Kenyatta. So all the best to Lady Justice Martha Koome, if you make it or clinch through all the way to be the Lady Justice or the Chief Justice of the country. Wish you all the best in your endeavors, and we hope you'll bring some change when it comes to the justice and how justice is actually delivered in the country. And so, if you're just joining us, is that Justice or Lady Justice Martha Koome has been nominated or chosen by the Judicial Service Commission to be the next Chief Justice, and the name has been forwarded to the President, who will actually deliberate with the name, and all the processes will be had. But we're just saying, if all things go as planned, we are wishing Lady Justice Martha Koome all the best as she takes the next position in her life. And that's where we end or wrap up the show today. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation. Thank you so much for actually tuning in, because remember, we always do this for you. And thank you so much to the team behind all this amazing production, to my directors, Sarah and Dennis. I always appreciate you every single day for what you do. You do it in the best way. See you tomorrow at 3 p.m. And definitely remember, in the next few minutes, the Ministry of Health will be giving the updates on the coronavirus in the last 24 hours. So make sure you tune in for that information tomorrow during the breakfast show with Lillian Thomas at 8 a.m. And definitely join me at 3 p.m. because I'll need you. So take care of yourselves until tomorrow, inshallah.